Hey guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Apologies for the tardiness of this one, so close to the deadline, but it's been a busy week, and just wanted to at least get a video out, just to show the state of my team, and hopefully run a few through a few interesting things before the deadline, which is tonight. So yeah, basically just gonna jump into my team for this week, and look at sort of where I'm placed, and we'll also look back at my free hit from last week. And so yeah, this is the state of my team going into game week 35. I'm okay with it. I don't necessarily think it needs a transfer, but at the same time, in terms of attacking the last 4 weeks or buying players that are going to be useful for the last 4 weeks, it may warrant a transfer. And these are some decisions that I've got to make. And we'll go through that a little bit later in the video. But as you can see, this is the current state of affairs. I've got Evan Nilsson starting over Saka. I've got Rodgers starting over Saka. I've got pretty much everyone starting over Saka at the moment, and then I've also got double Arsenal defence, which I don't particularly like. I think Bournemouth have been pretty toothless in front of goal, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got a goal in this game with Arsenal having an eye on their second leg of the Champions League. So the main talking points for this week, I think, are captaincy. I think captaincy is going to be the swingiest part of this week. A lot of people have got similar teams off the back of the double in 33 and the free hit in 34. So I think if you can get the captaincy right this week, that's what's going to define your game week. So we'll come on to that in a little bit, but this is how the team's shaping up. Obviously, we've got a decision to make with Saka, and a decision to make perhaps with Nico Williams. Will he start ahead of an Arsenal defender against my double Forest attack? Could even play Dan Burn, but I think Brian will score, so I don't really like that one. But yeah, that's my team. And just looking into the free hit, apologies, didn't have time to do a nice graphic for this one, but this was my free hit last week, 84 points. I'm pretty happy with it. There was a couple of decisions which I was trying to make in my head, and ultimately I'm really happy with the ones that I did make. And it was something that I tweeted out about double Newcastle defence. I thought was going under the radar, but not just double Newcastle defence, but double Newcastle fullbacks. I didn't really like the Pope pick. I know that the Pope returned, but I thought at home against Ipswich it would be a team that would sit back. I know that they were without a couple of their players, and Newcastle would just largely dominate the ball, and there'd be a lot of crosses into the box. So I thought I want to go for the fullbacks here. I think both fullbacks have potential of a 10+ point haul, and it proved right, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be so swingy towards Trippier. Livramento obviously ended up just getting the clean sheet points, but I'm really glad that I went with this, because I was definitely toying between Livramento and Trippier, and in the end I was like, well, why leave one out? But unfortunately, this meant that my goalkeeper then became Leno, which I think is my one mistake of the week. I think if I had maybe spent a bit more time thinking about the keeper, I would have gone somewhere else. And I probably would have gone... It would have either been Sanchez or Kepa. And Kepa ended up conceding. So that wouldn't have really netted me too many more points. I think he got 3. But I was toying with Cucurella. The only thing I didn't like about Cucurella is I just didn't see our attacking potential being that high in that game. But I thought... I was happy. I would have been happy to go with Sanchez, because I'm not too bothered about the keeper spot, and I thought our chances of a clean sheet were reasonably high. But I ended up just going with the Fulham pick. I think I partly went with Leno as well because I was trying to cover off Sessegnon a little bit, and that just failed spectacularly. I thought that, if Sessegnon was to play and get a haul, he would need a clean sheet, and then if I had Leno, at least I would get part of that clean sheet. But it turns out in the end that you can just score 1 goal as a defender and get 11 points, which I just don't think we've seen all season. Like, usually when defenders score, they don't get any bonus points if they concede. So I feel like that should have been an 8-pointer, but clearly it was that type of game where there wasn't too many bonus points on offer. So Sessegnon got the 11, and this would have been a much better game week had he not scored. And I know it's easy to say, but it was a last minute goal because so many people had him, and I think I would have got a much bigger green, probably like 20, 30k bigger green if Sessegnon didn't get that late goal. But it wasn't to be. And I'm happy with my main decision that I made, which was the double Newcastle defence. So yeah, that was the only decision that I didn't like. Raul obviously didn't return, but I think he had chances to, and I didn't mind that as a high upside pick. I don't think any of the other forwards did that well. I know Wissa scored. Maybe there's a couple others that I'm missing, but Wood didn't do anything in the end. Welbeck didn't do anything in the end, so I'm not too disappointed in that. Maybe I could have gone double up Wolves attack, but I don't think I ever really considered that. And then I suppose the other disappointing one was Palmer, but I was always going to go Palmer. I'm a Chelsea fan. I back him to turn it around, and I thought that might have been as good a chance as any at Everton. So nothing on the bench as well, apart from Sessegnon. But yeah, on the whole, pretty decent free hit. Got me a green arrow, about 20, 30k. It obviously could have been better, but I think considering everyone did pretty well, it feels a little bit underwhelming. But I'm happy with the picks I made. So it's certainly better than last year's free hit. I got about 15 points. But anyway, moving into my transfer plans ahead of this week, and thinking about some players that you guys or all of us might be looking at towards the end of the season now, because I don't think at this point where we've all got teams that were sort of based on the doubles, you're going to be taking too many punts. Like, you kind of just want players to see you through now. So you need to be looking at those 4 fixtures as a collective and saying, who do I want for the end? Because you're probably not going to be bringing someone in and then selling them. And for my team, I don't think it's obvious. So my first decision is what to do with Saka, and I've kind of been leaning more towards keeping him, which is why you see the team as it is like this, because I think if they go out against PSG, which this is a risk, if they go out against PSG, I think he starts every single remaining Premier League game. And I don't mind their fixtures. I know they've got Newcastle, but it's a home game. Liverpool, but they've won the league. And then it's, Southampton, I think, to finish. Like, those are good fixtures. And I think if they go out, I kind of back Saka to do pretty well in these games. I think they go to Liverpool and put performance in. They'd want to. They'll always do well at home. And then this could be a huge haul in the Southampton game to finish the season, because they want to finish strong. So I think the upside is there with Saka. But it massively hinges on the PSG game. If they go through, does that affect his minutes? And does he come through unscathed? I think it's a risk, but it's a risk that I'm leaning towards taking. And this week, I just don't think I'll play him. I don't know if he starts against Bournemouth, and I'm happy to just bench him and play Evan-Nilsson. Like, the only thing with Evan-Nilsson is I've got double Arsenal defence, so it's kind of like, do I double down on Arsenal and play all 3 of them, or do I maybe play Evan-Nilsson and drop an Arsenal defender? Maybe I play Williams, but then I'm going against my Forest. So I think there's also an option to sell Saka here. And that's the other thing to discuss. And the options to sell him are basically just, for me, Brian and Burmo, Jared Bowen, and I mean, I think that's pretty much who I narrowed it down to. I also don't mind De Bruyne, but he just isn't guaranteed to start. And I think I do like his fixtures, though. I do like his fixtures. I think he starts tonight. And I think he probably starts against Southampton too. But does he start the remaining 2 games after that? Like with Haaland coming back, does Marmoush drop into midfield? He probably starts the last game, right? Maybe he does start Bournemouth because it's their final home game. It's their final home game and it'll be his last home game for City. So he probably does start, right? The only thing is their FA Cup final. And he did get dropped for the FA Cup semi. I think this is the highest upside pick. I don't necessarily expect him to do crazy well, but his ownership isn't going to be very high. And if he starts all 4 of these games, he could perform really well. So maybe he's better than I anticipated. And Burmo, everyone's been talking about him. I don't know if I love this fixture against United. I know that they'll be resting players, potentially after their result last night, but they're just not conceding too many goals at the moment. Like, I would probably rather target other teams than be targeting United. Like, Man United aren't really scoring goals in the Premier League, but they're also not really conceding them either. And I've never really thought of Brentford to be a team that's like too much on the front foot. Like, if United let them play, I'm not sure they'll create that much. So I kind of see this being low scoring. Obviously, the Ipswich game is a fantastic fixture. There's no denying that. And I don't hate the remaining 2. There's just nothing wrong with this buy. And it will be hard to resist the temptation to bring him in just because he represents such good value as an FPL pick. He's on set pieces. He's on penalties. He takes corners. He's a goal threat. He's an assist machine. Like, he does pretty much everything that you'd want. So, yeah, I think not too much more to say about him. Good chance of bringing him in for Saka if I get cold feet on that one. And then the final one is Jared Bowen. And I really, really like the next fixture and the last fixture. I think Spurs at home is a great fixture. And again, Spurs won last night, they're coming off the back of a win, but I think we've seen that they just don't care about the Premier League right now. And therefore it is a fixture to target. Only thing is, West Ham aren't very good. They don't particularly have great home presence. I don't expect them to win this game 3 or 4-0. I just don't. I could see like 2-1, 2-2. I think Spurs will score. But Bowen is always amongst it, so I do like that fixture for him. And then obviously Ipswich away in the last game. It's a good fixture. The other 2, not for me. United away, just never a good game. And Forest at home, it's kind of the same thing as I said about the Spurs game, but Forest have got so much more to play for, and I know they're not looking great right now, but they're still way more compact and hard to beat than Spurs are. So I think if I'm picking a mid, I'm probably picking Mbeumo for the extra bit of money, to be honest. I think he plays for the better team. Arguably not a better player, but more routes to points. So that's kind of it in terms of midfield options for me. If you guys are looking for a striker, I think Ollie Watkins is a great shout. I suppose it's just who you would sell. Like, if your team looks something like Marmoush, Isak, Mateta, are any of them worth selling for Ollie Watkins? If you're chasing upside, if you're really chasing, I think yes. Would I sell Mateta or Isak? One of them's more expensive, so it depends how much money you've got and how easy that's going to be. But I'd probably sell Isak. I don't think their fixtures are that great, and it's just a straight swap. And I think Mateta will do well. He scored a really good goal against Arsenal, and I don't hate their fixtures either. But Watkins is a great option for the rest of the season. They've got decent fixtures, and he's a quality player, likely to play every game now because of Rashford's injury, and Villa are chasing. So there really isn't there's not too many downsides with this pick. So he's one I would consider. Outside of him, I think the other three are Chris Wood, Matheus Cunha, and Johan Visser. Forest have got very good fixtures. I'm just not sure who I would be swapping out for Wood. I think in terms of the forwards, like if you've got a Mateta, if you've got an Isak or a Marmoush, is Chris Wood better than any of those? Maybe for 36 and 37 he is, but I'm still not sure I'd make that change especially if you've got other parts of your team that need fixing. Same thing with Cunha. Relatively decent fixtures. He could do well, but again, is he better than Mateta? Probably not. And then Johan Visser. Again, same fixture set as Mbermo. Had a really good season. But if we look at Mateta's fixtures, for example, if you've got someone like him, I think this home fixture against Forest is decent. I think Palace look good and Forest don't. So I don't think this is a red fixture. And then these two are great. Spurs are Spurs. Wolves, I think they've kind of done their business by then. And then, yeah, okay, Liverpool away is not a great fixture, but again, they've won the league. It's not going to be the end of the world for them. So I don't think the other strikers have wildly better fixtures. But who's my preference out of those three? I think my preference out of those three is probably either Wood or Cunha, because I think Chris Wood has the best fixtures and something to play for, and Cunha is just an insane FPL pick this year. I mean, you can see that in the points that he's got more points than Visser and a slightly less than Wood, but he's played way less games because of the suspensions and stuff like that. So if you want a punt, lower ownership, I think I'd probably go Matheus Cunha. But for someone like me who's got Evan Nilsson, it's a tougher sell. It is a tougher sell. Just because of that Leicester fixture in 38. Like, I'm someone who's looking to bench boost as well. So like, maybe if I bench boost in 38, he could be a really good option. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this week. Those are just a couple of the players that are being discussed this week. I think my overall advice to you guys and to myself would be to not worry too much about this week. Just maybe see how your team gets on, unless you're in dire need of transfers. I think it's a good week to roll, and it's also an okay week to maybe make one transfer if you've got minutes risk players. But I think this is likely to be my team for this game week. But yeah, good luck everyone. Don't forget the early deadline, and please do subscribe and like the video and leave a comment down below if you made it this far. And thanks guys, I'll see you on the next one.